You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and the man with the plan, Adam Schaum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flushed out again, all the way back. Turning the corner, fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, stayed in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this is better than those things.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Goon. It's week 2 of the fantasy season, and we are here to help you out. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and I'm joined, as always, by Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. Adam, how you doing this Sunday morning?
I'm doing great, Joe. It's been a very exciting morning. Got lots of jitters for the Bears-Packers game tonight. Ready to get talking about some fantasy and get the day started.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And before we get rolling into the day, there is some big fantasy names that are indeed inactive today. And the biggest undoubtedly being Alvin Kamara inactive today for the Saints. So it looks like Mark Ingram, who was also questionable, Adam, is going to look like he's going to get an expanded role and probably going to be the bell cow for them today.
Yeah, I think you got to assume that. We know how much the Saints organization loves Mark Ingram. I love Mark Ingram as well. He's been a great player throughout his career. He's over 30 now, though, so he's not the player he used to be. But, you know, he is still a very consistent player that they can rely on to at least take those touches and, you know, keep their game plan steady to mix up the rush and the pass. So, you know, I think if you need a desperate play as like a flex or something, I think he could be usable in like a 12-team league. So, you know, I don't have super high hopes, but they'll probably mix in Tony Jones a little bit, I would assume. He looked pretty good last year in preseason and then kind of died off through the year. But, Mark Ingram can't handle it all, so I would expect little Tony Jones.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. And on the other sideline in that same game, Adam, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all kinds of beat up. That's an understatement. Inactives for the Buccaneers include Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Kyle Rudolph to a lesser extent at tight end, but they can't seem to catch a break. There's a game time decision apparently coming on Russell Gage, who's probably going to be a popular waiver or flex pickup for today. It's going to be an interesting one today, especially with those limited weapons. A lot of people picked up Julio to replace Chris Godwin, and now they're kind of scrambling. I know I am. Yeah,
Julio looked really good in week 1, so it's a shame to see him already on the injury report and missing week 2 here. The Bucs, like you said, you know, their wide receiver room's just beat up. Evans was questionable, but it sounds like he's going to play. However, I think you have to limit the expectations there as well because he's been shut down year after year by Marcus Lattimore for New Orleans. And Evans, you're going to hope for the touchdown basically in that game. I don't expect him to get a lot of yards and catches. You're going to hope for a touchdown or two. but it's going to be pretty rough. Russell Gage should be the number 2 guy there today.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think he's a guy you're going to have to look at. Other big names, fantasy-wise, that are officially inactive now. We know Michael Pittman will be inactive for the Colts today. And then also for the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins officially ruled out for the game, Adam. So another blow for people that drafted Dobbins to be a running back too. But
Yeah.
switching over quickly to speak about Michael Pittman. It's kind of an injury that snuck up this week in practice. And now we're kind of in a place where you're going to see Paris Campbell and Ashton Doolin kind of being like the 2 receivers you're going to look at. Of course, you've got Mo Alley Cox as well to catch passes alongside Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be a different passing attack today for the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Pittman was a huge part of their comeback last week. I mean, they were losing that game by a lot to Houston, surprisingly. And Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor were the keys to bringing them back in that. So they're going to be hurting without them. So I would expect even a bigger workload for Jonathan Taylor. And Nyheim Hines in the passing game is probably going to be a pretty good flex play today, I would assume. I personally like Paris Campbell as well. I've heard good things in training camp this year about him. He can just never stay on the field has been his issue. So
yeah, always hurt.
Yeah, we'll see if he can stay in there and him and Matt Ryan can develop something. But the Doolin receiver that you mentioned sounds like a pretty good play as well. He's got to be the number 2 there.
Yeah, this is a guy that's unowned in practically every single league. He had 6 targets last week, Adam, and that's when they had Michael Pittman. So he could go off today.
Yeah, that's very promising. 6 targets with Pittman playing. So
yeah, and before we dive into our starts and sits and all that fun stuff, we got a couple questions in the chat. So let's take a few of these at the top. Joe Treviso wants to know Hurts or Winston today. Well, I guess Hurts is technically tomorrow, but
you're never benching Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has to start. I mean, Jameis Winston. Well, first off, Winston's got to go against that tough Tampa Bay defense, so I'm not touching him today. But Jalen Hurts is a top 5 fantasy quarterback all year long in my book, so you can't bench him.
Yeah, 100%.
And then we got another one, Adam. Trey Lance or Matthew Stafford. Trey Lance looked horrendous all preseason and against the Bears. I'm not touching him regardless of who he's playing. I have him. I don't remember where I have him ranked, but I have him very low. I'm taking Stafford over Lance any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely. I think I'm going to mention Lance again here later in the show. He's not somebody I would be playing today. He's going to have to prove it to me once or twice before he gets back in the lineup. He looked I know last week conditions were bad for both quarterbacks, but he still just looked bad. So
yeah,
staying away from that. Stafford's due for a bounce back, I think.
I would agree. Big things, and a lot of those receivers too, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
Yep.
Carlos, full PPR, 2 flex from Andre Stevenson, Russell Gage, Ingram, Christian Watson. I don't know how much I like Mark Ingram today, but I don't think I like him better than Stevenson because I think Stevenson, the Ty Montgomery was put on IR this week by the Patriots. Stevenson's going to catch more balls today, I think. So I'm definitely starting Stevenson. Adam, are you with me on Stevenson? And then who else are you starting?
Yeah, I'm with you. Stevenson's definitely would be the first choice out of the group. And then it's probably between Gage and Ingram for me. I'm probably leaning Russell Gage, I think.
Yeah,
assuming
starting.
They're both playing. Yeah, assuming they're both starting.
Yeah, Stevenson and Gage. Watson is I'm not touching him right now until we see what's going on in Green Bay.
Yeah. Ingram's going to get in there like we mentioned, but against the Tampa Bay run defense, you can't imagine he's going to get a whole lot of yardage there.
Yeah, he's not going to have a lot of room to move. David Montgomery, Damian Pierce, or Breece Hall. Well, I guess you got to go Monty because of volume.
Yeah. I'll mention Pierce again here a little later in the show. It's between Monty and Hall for me, and yeah, I go Monty in this situation.
Yeah, I mean Monty's going to catch some passes today too.
Right, I think that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, if they're going to beat Green Bay, they're going to have to use David Montgomery a lot. So
yeah, we need the dump off to Montgomery tonight.
Yeah. And based on our Twitter conversation this week, Connell McGower went back and he got A-Rob. So
Good job.
Hang on to him because we'll talk about him again later in the show, but expect a big bounce back this weekend and the rest of the season. Carlos, James Robinson, or Mark Ingram. I don't love either this week, but I
That's
guess
easy. James Robinson for me.
Between the two of them, definitely. Yeah, James Robinson.
He looked pretty good last week. He actually looked better than I wish he had because I had higher hopes for ETN last week. But Robinson was surprised how good he looked coming off that Achilles that quick.
Yeah, well, hopefully he can string it all together because he could be a great value for people, especially if they got him late in their draft.
Yeah, he was very late.
But Adam, let's get to our quarterback starts of the week. We both picked three guys that are, not the run-of-the-mill starts that everyone's going to play. But why don't you lead things off with your quarterback starts of the week?
I got one of my guys that I mention all the time on here because I just love his fantasy value. It's always safe. Is Kirk Cousins. Philadelphia does have a solid defense, but again, Kirk Cousins can make your fantasy day in the fourth quarter when they have to come back all the time. And we saw them come out of the gate last week on fire with Justin Jefferson getting all the targets like we thought, playing that Cooper Kupp role in the Kevin O'Connell offense there. I think Cousins is going to be very solid all year. So I think he's a start once again, even versus a pretty good defense in Philadelphia. And Derek Carr, I think, is a pretty good play versus a fairly bad Arizona defense. You can really throw the ball against the Arizona secondary. We saw Derek Carr have, I believe he was close to 300 last week, 290, 295, something like that. Threw a couple of picks, but overall he looked pretty good. Him and Adams definitely have that relationship. We saw that immediately. Didn't Adams have 15 to 20 targets somewhere in there?
Something ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, 17 or something like that. So I like that matchup for the Vegas Raiders against Arizona. And then, as much as I hate to say it, Aaron Rodgers, man, we know what he does to Chicago. I think it's a safe play this week. A lot of people are worried, like, do I cut Aaron Rodgers after last week? Do I trade him? What do I do with him? Well, let's let him play Chicago once before we make a decision on that, in my opinion. I can't stand him, but I think he's a pretty good play this week.
I think it'll be a good game tonight. I'm looking forward to Sunday Night Football in Lambeau Field. It should be a fun one.
Yep.
I shared a quarterback start with you and Kirk Cousins. I think he might end up being a top 5 quarterback when all is said and done this year. That offense is on fire in Minnesota, and we got to watch out for that team. They look really good. Yep. Matthew Stafford, we just talked about him a little while ago. I think he's going to have a huge bounce back game today against Atlanta. I think they torched them today, and I think Matthew Stafford proves to people why he was drafted where he was. So look for Matt Stafford to go crazy. And then I like Joe Burrow today against Dallas. Dallas is kind of in shambles. They're kind of scrambling all over the place. I think Burrow's going to toss it up. I think Jamar Chase has a big day, and look for Mixon and company to be very busy offensively today. So I like all three of those guys heading into their matchups this week.
Do you know Chase had 5 end zone targets last week?
That's awesome. I love that.
That's fantasy gold right there.
That's insane.
Yeah, and he didn't get a touchdown. I mean, he had one that they didn't challenge that should have been a touchdown, and they didn't challenge it. But still, 5 end zone targets. I mean, that's going to lead to a lot of touchdowns this year.
I got a 3-pick parlay today with anytime touchdown scorers: Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, and Mark Andrews.
I think that's a pretty safe play.
And if it hits, it pays $10, turns into $110. So we'll see.
Wow, nice.
We'll see what happens. But I like Jamar Chase's chances of scoring today for sure.
Absolutely.
But real quick before we move on to our running back starts, this is a great question. We got a question from Andrea. Any word on Gabriel Davis? He's still listed questionable for Monday night. It's a really tough one, Adam, because I'm running into the same problem. I have him in a couple leagues. And the fact that it's a Monday game, and if he doesn't play, I don't have anybody else I can put in that spot, especially in a league like you and I are in a guillotine league together. And if he doesn't play and I get a goose egg, I'm probably going to get chopped. So
Yeah.
I had to pivot, and I went and picked up Ashton Doolin today from the Colts because he's probably going to have an expanded role. But I don't know. It's tricky because I don't know how much they're going to use him on Monday.
Meaning Gabe Davis or
Gabriel Davis, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. I really haven't heard a lot on this injury, or a lot of updates anyway. I think, like you said, it's really risky trying to wait it out to Monday night because, you don't have anybody left. Everybody else has played at that point. Personally, if I were in a position with Gabe Davis, and I would be looking on the waiver wire for possibly Jamison Crowder. I think he could play a big role for the Bills if Gabe Davis does not play. If I had an extra tight end or something, I might drop them and add Jameson Crowder or somebody like that just to have as a backup plan in case.
Or if for some reason Isaiah McKenzie is available in your league, I mean he'll fit right into that Gabriel Davis role because that's basically what he does, even when Gabriel Davis is playing. So Andrea said that her backups are Darnell Mooney and Zay Jones. I mean, I don't mind Mooney today. I just don't think that it's going to be a super pass-heavy attack. I think it's going to be more balanced today, Adam, if they want to beat Green Bay. Because if you're going to beat Green Bay, you got to beat them on the ground.
Right, I agree. I have that Pittman injury on one of the teams. I think it's in the Goon League, actually. And I'm going to have to play Mooney in his place. That's really by far my best option, but I don't feel great about it because I agree this needs to be running the ball tonight. Like we mentioned a minute ago, dump offs to Montgomery. Hopefully get a lot of Cole Kmet involved, but I don't feel great about Mooney, but at the same time he could see 8 targets and hopefully get in the end zone.
I agree. And Josh wants to know Mike Evans or Deontay Johnson PPR. It's not as simple as it seems in this one because Mike Evans is banged up. He draws a tough matchup against the Saints. Deontay Johnson has been heavily targeted by Mitch Trubisky. He's making like ridiculous catches.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm starting Mike Evans. I think I would go Deontay Johnson against New England, although their defense is good too.
I think I'm with you. I am benching Mike Evans on one team because of the injury worry. We know how fragile he seems to be when he gets out there, especially with those soft tissue injuries. He's always got a lingering hamstring, and that's what it is again. So I'm hesitant of that. I'm hesitant of the matchup versus the Saints and Lattimore. And you just said it, man. Deontay Johnson is extremely solid in PPR formats, and Mitch Trubisky loves him. I think he's kind of the Allen Robinson we saw with 150 targets for the Bears for years. So I think I would go Deontay Johnson there over Mike Evans.
I agree. You get the stamp of approval from the two of us, Josh. And one more question before we get to running backs: Cole Kmet or Logan Thomas? I mean, I like what I saw. It's a tough question. It's tougher than it looks because Logan Thomas, people didn't expect him to look as good as he did last week after the injury, and he was heavily targeted. Cole Kmet didn't look as good as we expected, but I do expect him to get a lot of targets today. Man, Adam, for me, it's like a coin flip.
Yeah, it really is. I think if I had to make the choice, I think I'd put Cole Kmet in my lineup because I probably drafted Cole Kmet, and I may have picked up Logan Thomas off the wire. And after last week, you got to think they try to get Kmet more involved this week and make up for that. So I would just barely take Kmet.
Yeah, I think I barely agree. So it's a tough one.
It's
but
a really
I think
tough
so.
one.
I think you let Logan Thomas prove it to you if he does it again today.
Even. I don't think you're going to go way wrong either way.
Yeah, I think they both probably have a shot at a touchdown today. So, and then one last one, and I promise we're going to running backs, and we'll get to the rest of the questions after. DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith at a flex. DK going against the 49ers. Devontae Smith, what are they playing? The Vikings on Monday night, right?
Yes, Philadelphia, Minnesota, yeah.
I mean, I don't love DK, but he was heavily targeted, and he was the big dog on Monday night. So, geez, I don't love it, but I think I lean towards DK because Devontae screwed a lot of people last week.
Yeah, I would be going DK Metcalf over Devontae Smith, mostly for the touchdown upside I think that's there. Geno Smith played good the other night. He's not always going to play that well, but he's going to have to force feed the ball to DK quite a bit, I think. So I'm taking DK in that.
And I think the 49ers are drastically overrated. So we'll
sure.
see. But let's get to our running backs, Adam. So why don't we dive into your running back starts of the week? Tell us what you got.
All right. Man, I got one of the guys I thought just looked so good last week, as expected, is Javonte Williams for Denver Broncos. He looked awesome, I thought, in that game versus Seattle. Even though Melvin Gordon still got quite a bit of work, Javonte just – that guy looks so fast as soon as he gets the ball in his hand. He's such a smooth runner, great hands out of the backfield. So I love him today versus Houston. I think he gets in the end zone and well outperforms Gordon today. Though Gordon might get some late touches there and clean up a touchdown.
Garbage time, yeah.
Yeah, I think they could each get a touchdown today.
For sure.
The other guy we go to every season, Jeff Wilson.
Every season.
Yep, he's always right there waiting to step up for San Francisco. And once again, he has his chance, as San Francisco can never keep it back healthy. So here we go again versus Seattle. Defense isn't that great. San Francisco is going to run the ball. I think Jeff Wilson gets 15 touches at minimum today, if not closer to 20. And Darrell Henderson for the Rams. He looked really good versus Atlanta, especially in comparison to Cam Akers. Darrell Henderson's going to get, again, just like Jeff Wilson, I think 15 to 20 touches almost guaranteed. And I do think Cam Akers gets worked back into this, and I'm not 100% confident in Henderson long term. But I think for these first month or so, Henderson's going to be a really solid running back. And Atlanta defense doesn't scare anybody. So, like you mentioned earlier, I think the Rams are going to run it up on Atlanta today.
I think so, too. That means you're going to see a lot of garbage time points to Kyle Pitts later in that game. So I like that.
Very possible.
But let's take a look. I like all those picks, Adam. Let's take a look at what I got. I have Antonio Gibson against Detroit today. He looked really good last week, and looks healthy. And I think he's going to run all over Detroit today and catch a few balls as well. Although you have McKissick to take some targets away in that regard, but he'll be okay. A.J. Dillon, who has looked really impressive to me, I think they're going to start utilizing him more in Green Bay against the Bears. And I think you're going to see A.J. Dillon at least score one touchdown tonight. And he might lead it in rushing attempts over Aaron Jones today. I have a weird feeling that's going to be the case. So I love A.J. Dillon, and a guy that Adam knows that I am deeply in love with for whatever reason. I just think Ramondre Stevenson is just an awesome running back. He's a big guy. He's got a bigger role. The guy he lost some passing targets to last week in Ty Montgomery is on IR, and they're going up against a T.J. Wattless Pittsburgh Steelers. I like Ramondre Stevenson today to go. I'm going to be bold. I'm saying he's going to go over 100 yards rushing with a touchdown.
That's pretty bold. I think he's going to have a good game. I don't know if he gets to 100 rushing, but he's going to have a good game, I think, especially catching passes.
Yeah, so I love him in the PPR game. So those are some fun picks there. Let's keep the show on the road, Adam. I'm going to take a look at my tight end starts of the week. I'm going to go. I like Tyler Higbee. We keep talking about the Rams. Higbee against Atlanta. They're not great against the tight end. Higbee's been kind of invisible. Well, at least I guess the whole team was really last week, so that's not really saying much. But I think Higbee is going to be heavily involved today. And we both have we both share our love for Logan Thomas this week. I don't think we have to say too much more about it, but he looks healthy, and Detroit looks like they're going to give up a lot of points again this season. Then I like Zach Ertz. Arizona, they didn't look good in the start of the game last week, but they kind of got it together. I look for them to finally have a game plan against Vegas today, and Zach Ertz is going to be a big part of that. So I like where he stands today. Adam, I know you have two of the same guys on your list, but feel free to add what you like.
Yeah, like you said with Ertz, I really like Ertz again. Last week they kind of eased him back into action as he had been nursing an injury for the last few weeks of training camp. And so they kind of eased him into action, and it wasn't looking good, but he did get a touchdown late in that game, which made up for it. And they say he was fully healthy this week, practicing all week, I believe. They say he's 100% ready to go, and they've said they want to get him more involved. And they've also ruled out Rondale Moore once again, so I think that helps his target share again. So I 100% agree with that. We both talked about Logan Thomas, and man, I love Pat Freiermuth today, and I love him going forward. Man, he was getting tons of targets last week from Mitch. He's a really good tight end, man. He was really good last year with Ben Roethlisberger, and I think he looks really good with Mitch Trubisky. I think him and Deontay Johnson are the two solid pass catchers on the Steelers this year that you can count on week in and week out. And Freiermuth's probably going to be a must start for me almost every week, I think.
Yeah, he's slowly getting there. We'll see if Mitch gives him that many targets again today. Then he'll certainly be in that territory for sure.
Yeah.
But I love what we saw out of him last year, and I think he'll take a big step this year. We got a good question here from Rob Davis in the chat. Hey, guys, got wide receivers banged up. Do I go T. Higgins coming off the concussion or Ashton Dulin with Pittman out? It's a great question. We were talking a little bit about Ashton Dulin a little while ago. He's going to slip right in there, and he got 6 targets last week, and I think he'll probably end up getting more this week against a terrible Jacksonville team. Higgins kind of scares me, the concussion stuff, but he's such a good talent. It's really hard for me to bench him. Adam, I probably lightly go towards Higgins, but the concussion does freak me out a little bit. Where do you fall?
Yeah, has he been cleared? Yeah, he's expected to play, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he's expected to play.
Man, I am a little worried about that as well. That's kind of tough. I think if Higgins is a go, I would play Higgins just for the talent in the offense. The Dulin, I think, may be a good play, but it's a little bit of an unknown to me right now. So I think I'd go with what I know.
Yeah, with Higgins expected to go, I think it's hard to turn down the upside there. So
yeah,
you got to roll the dice. Q Cole wants to know Jeff Wilson, Ingram, Paris Campbell, Michael Thomas, start 1 PPR. Wow. I mean, I liked what I saw out of Michael Thomas last week, but I have a hard time starting him against the Bucs. I think Paris Campbell's probably – oh, no, Jeff Wilson. Sorry, I forgot about Jeff Wilson. I think Wilson's going to be a dog today all day.
Yeah, it would be between Wilson and Thomas for me. I think I would lean Wilson for the guaranteed touches out of the backfield. But Thomas was quite promising last week. So I think I'd go Wilson this week, but probably Thomas after this week.
Yeah, Thomas is looking like he's back to form. I just don't love him against that Buccaneers secondary.
Right. If he has a decent game today, though, I think he's going to be in lineups most of the season after this.
That's right, our buddy. The Gaines Report says it's game day. It certainly is, Gaines. We're getting people ready for those lineups. Q Cole has another question.
Gaines.
What's that?
That it's been quite a morning, Gaines.
Yeah, you guys are wheeling and dealing, and I'm using my commissioner powers to undo things and redo things. It's living the dream. But Q Cole's got one more question. Kareem Hunt, DJ Moore, full PPR. I think DJ Moore is going to certainly see more touches than Kareem Hunt today, I would imagine. Wouldn't you think?
Out of those, man, I'm really nervous about DJ Moore. I've got him. What do you think? Or answer me this. Would you play DJ Moore or DK Metcalf?
Probably DK.
That's what I think. I think I would play Kareem Hunt here over DJ Moore.
I mean, who's
the Browns? Who's the Browns playing again?
The Browns are playing the Jets.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm Kareem Hunt. I'm Kareem Hunt.
I guess Kareem probably has a better chance to score a touchdown, but DJ Moore has been kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
I guess
DJ Moore, roller coaster.
I mean, he could go off, but then again, you're going more safe. And Gaines says it was an explosive morning. It certainly was.
Yes, it was. Big deals going on.
So let's get to our defensive starts, and you did a perfect segue for us. Adam, why don't you lead things off talking about the Browns? I don't know if you froze on me or if I froze on you.
Yep, there we go. There they are, the Browns right there, man. I'm looking at that matchup as the Browns are going to kill. You got me? Am I there?
You're coming in and out a little bit, Adam.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's all right. You were talking about the Browns, right?
I'm saying I think the Browns are going to just destroy the Jets here today. I think Joe Flacco doesn't stand a chance back there against Miles Garrett and the Cleveland Rush. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think the Browns are going to be the number one defense this week. Between sacks and fumbles, interceptions, I think they're going to rack up some points and maybe score a touchdown. I could easily see a sack fumble for return for a touchdown against Flacco.
Yeah.
So they would probably be my number one pick. And then second would be the Cincinnati Bengals defense versus Dallas's beat-up team. They got a beat-up offensive line. Cooper Rush coming in at quarterback today. That just sounds like a disaster game to me for Dallas. So I'd fire up the Bengals in that one. You're talking interceptions, sacks. I think it's lined up there. And then this game, the Steelers-Patriots game, I'm saying the Steelers, but I actually originally had both defenses on the list here, the Patriots and the Steelers, because I think this is going to be like a 13-10 game at best. I think both of these teams are going to play good defense against each other. I think the Steelers are still going to be a pretty good defense without T.J. Watt. And Mac Jones is beat up back there. He's had a back injury, so we know he's not the fastest of guys anyway. I think Steelers are a good play today. I also think the Patriots are against the Steelers.
It's funny you mentioned that because on my starts, I have the Patriots versus the Steelers because I'm on the other side of that because I think both defenses will be good. Although I do think it'll be a little bit higher scoring than you said. I think it'll be like 24-21, not much higher.
Yeah.
But I do think that both defenses will have a warrant of a good start. We talked about the Browns. Anyone playing the Jets usually is going to do good. And then I hate to say it. I love our Bears. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think the Packers defense is a worthy play today, especially at home at Lambeau. It's a very hostile environment, so Packers could definitely be a good start today.
Yeah, I'm afraid you could be right about that.
But we shall wait and see in that respect. Let's dive into our sleeper starts of the week, Adam, and let's take a look at mine real quick. I think Carson Wentz could be a sneaky good play today against Detroit. He threw for over 300 last week and threw 3 touchdowns. He looked really, really good. Detroit's not very good defensively. Carson Wentz is available in pretty much all leagues, and he could easily get you like 30 points today.
Yeah, he looked good last week. I was surprised. And when you think about it, he's got quite a few decent weapons there to throw to. And Gibson's a good player. He could definitely put up a lot of points fast, just as we saw last. Didn't he have 4 touchdowns last week?
It's 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, I think he had 4 touchdowns. And the rookie, Jahan Dotson, had a couple. They're pretty solid.
Yeah, so I like Carson Wentz. It's not super sleeper, but I do like Nyheim Hines. He's going to be catching a lot of balls, especially with Michael Pittman out. So I think Nyheim Hines becomes a must start in a flex or running back 2 position. And then a guy that a lot of people forgot about, but Sterling Shepard looked surprisingly good last week. I think he had a touchdown as well. Going up against Carolina, he's kind of like the forgotten guy there, but everyone forgets Danny Dimes just loves Sterling Shepard. So he could be a very worthy sleeper start today. I expect him to have well over 10 fantasy points today, which is very good for a sleeper. So love Sterling Shepard today. Adam, let's take a look at your sleepers.
All right. I really like those picks you had there. Sterling Shepard's a great player when he's healthy and on the field. So some of mine here, we got Paris Campbell. We've mentioned his name a couple times today, stepping up hopefully for in the offense with Michael Pittman out. You mentioned Hines. We've said Campbell, Hines, and Doolin are the 3 guys today in the passing game for the Colts. So I look for him to make an impact. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's been his issue. The other guy, man, I don't think a lot of people have mentioned is Michael Carter for the Jets. Man, everybody's been on Breece Hall. Well, guess who out-touched him last week was Michael Carter. He out-snapped him. He out-touched him.
He looked good.
He had like 9 targets as well. Caught like 6 or 7, I think 7 passes, 10 carries. I mean, that's everything you get out of Kareem Hunt, maybe even a little more generally. So I think Michael Carter's a very underrated player that can be a very good flex player right now, maybe even an RB2 in a deeper league. But, yeah, I think people are going to have to slow down on Breece Hall because Michael Carter – they just drafted Michael Carter last year in like the 2nd or 3rd round. So they're not just giving up on him that quick. Anyway, the other guy is Albert Okwuegbunam for Denver. Albert O, as they call him, because that name is crazy. But we
Yeah.
saw him. We saw him against Seattle the other night on Monday. Was that Monday night? Yeah, the Monday night game versus Seattle, and I think he ended up with like 5 targets and 30 or 40 yards. But he was tackled once at the goal line on a play where he almost caught it in the end zone. He was just outside the line, and he got really involved. It seemed like as that game went on, even if they're short passes, if PPR league, I think you're looking at close to 10 points, as you mentioned with Shepard a minute ago.
Yeah, he's looking like one of those guys that they're going to have to get involved here. So I think he could be a sneaky good play today, Adam. I agree with you. And then if anyone's got any more chat questions, don't hesitate to get them into the chat. We will answer them live on the air here shortly. We're going to go through our sits of the week here in just a few moments, and then we're going to address questions until we get out of here. We saw a question come through just now from John Kessick, who I played poker with last night, but we will address that here in just a second after we get through these our sits of the week. So, Adam, why don't you walk us through who you are leaving on the bench?
All right. I'm leaving everybody's darling of draft season, Dameon Pierce, for Houston. Everybody, I mean, he was just climbing the draft boards week after week. The more everybody talked about him, and Lovie Smith promised he was the starting running back, and then Rex Burkhead gets like nearly 20 touches, I think. And, so I just don't think you can trust it right now. I don't think you can go risking playing Dameon Pierce right now until that evens out a little more, and they really do give him more touches and have him as the starting running back. But as long as Burkhead's involved, I think you have to be pretty weary about that and let that fold out. So he's on my bench this week. Also, Julio Jones, that was before we knew he was out. I was going to say not to risk him because of the injury. Even if he played, I wouldn't have played him.
Now he's out.
Yeah, now he's out. So the other one we mentioned earlier, I said Trey Lance is a guy that I'm not putting him in my lineup till I see him play a little better. I think people are just putting him in the lineup just because, he can run with the ball. It's like, yeah, I know that. He can run with the ball, but if he throws 3 or 4 interceptions, there goes your rushing yards as well.
Exactly.
So, if you're not getting any passing yards and turnovers, it's not going to help you that much. So he's going to have to work into that role for me before he gets in my starting lineup.
I'm with you there. I think Trey Lance is going to be on the bench here in the next few weeks, and Jimmy G will be starting, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be a huge draft bust, but hopefully you prove me wrong, Trey, but I don't think he will.
They better make a big deal out of it like they did about Mitch, because 49ers gave up way more than the Bears did for Mitch.
Yeah, they certainly did. And then me, I'm benching Jameis Winston today against the Bucs. I know he looked good last week. I know he's probably going to have a great season. I just think that Tampa Bay secondary is going to be all over him, and then I think he's going to be running for his life today. And not to mention, we talked about at the top of the show, Adam, no Alvin Kamara today, so that changes their game plan drastically. So Jameis, for me, is riding the bench. I'm benching Damian Harris as well today against Pittsburgh. I like Stevenson. I think he's going to be the guy they're going to utilize with passes and on the ground. And I think Damian Harris is, for what he does get rushing-wise, I think he's not going to be able to do too much with it. So I think Damian Harris is a guy that has to stay on your bench this week. Maybe that's just me thinking Stevenson's going to take all the work, but I just don't love Harris this week. And the guy who did next to nothing last week did Dawson Knox, who was like a fantasy darling last year, kind of blew up on the scene as a huge tight end, the top 5 tight end. Really didn't do much, and then now he gets to go up against Tennessee, who's great against the tight end. He didn't see a lot of targets last week with all the points that they put up on the board. So I think Dawson Knox has to stay on your bench again this week against Tennessee, because they're probably going to have to go elsewhere if they are going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I like those picks. I'm totally in the boat with you on Damian Harris. I didn't draft him anywhere this year because I just feel like Ramondre is by far the better player.
Yeah, I'm with you there 100%. Love myself some Ramondre Stevenson, and I think the world knows that. But I know we talked about a lot of guys that are out, but one guy that is active that was a question mark all week is Leonard Fournette, so I want to let people know that Leonard Fournette will be starting today for the Bucs, so at least that is a positive. Going through the rest of the inactives that came out, No mega huge names other than what we already talked about. And then I can recap. No Chris Godwin. No J.K. Dobbins. And again, this is just for the early games so far. Let's see if I missed anybody else. I'm looking through all the official inactive lists.
But Kittle's probably going to be out again.
Michael Gallup inactive today for the Cowboys. So if you were thinking about giving him a start, he will be out as well. Probably at least for the next couple weeks. Although I'm not touching any Cowboys right now, but that's a whole nother story. We'll see what they do today, but I can't imagine it's going to be too much. But that's kind of where we are with inactives. We got a couple minutes here before we wrap the show, and we're going to do rapid fire on our chat questions. So we got one from John Kessick. Cousins or Stafford? Cousins, it's a great question. You got Cousins going up against Philly on Monday night, and Stafford going up against Atlanta. Man, I got to look at my rankings. I don't remember what I did. Where are you going with this one, Adam?
That's a pretty tough call. We like both of those guys this week. I think I'd probably take the Stafford matchup versus Atlanta over Cousins versus Philly defense. I think both are going to have a good game, but just as far as the defenses go, I think Stafford has an easier matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I have Cousins ranked 11 and Matthew Stafford ranked 12 in quarterbacks for me this week. So for me, it's, a toss of a coin. They're pretty much about the same. But I think they're both going to do great. Maybe I lean slightly towards Stafford just a smidge, but I also know I ranked Cousins higher because of Justin Jefferson, who is just an absolute freak. So you can't go wrong either way, John. But great question. Chilorio, Henderson, or Sutton, or Gage? Who should I start? I love Cortland Sutton today. I guess it's against Houston. They're not a great secondary, so I think I'd probably go with Cortland Sutton. Adam, what do you think?
That's pretty tough between Henderson and Sutton. I love Cortland Sutton this year, but man, I think Henderson's going to see quite a few touches versus Atlanta there. We are talking about Darrell Henderson, right? Yeah. I think I lean Darrell Henderson. I think the Broncos are going to run a lot today.
It's close for me. I think
very close.
I think Sutton's going to have a big day, and I think you're going to see Cam Akers be more involved today for the Rams a little bit. So, it's close, but Sutton by a hair for me, and Henderson by a hair for Adam.
Yep.
Sam, Michael Thomas or CD or Hollywood? Well, you're
Hollywood.
not starting. Yeah, you're not starting CD just because of his quarterback situation. Thomas has a tough matchup. Love Hollywood Brown today against the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he's going to go crazy.
Yeah, Hollywood's going to be good today.
And then Cordarrelle Patterson or Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, this is a guy that's going to be a dog all day against this really not great Seattle defense, but they did look good on Monday night. I think they're not as good as they looked that day. I think Jeff Wilson is going to go crazy today. Adam, do you agree?
Yeah, I'd take Wilson over Patterson just slightly. Patterson impressed last week, but I don't think he's going to always see 20-plus touches all the time. That was his career high last week, I believe. I think Jeff Wilson is the play there. Man, I just see breaking news. Jameis Winston has 4 fractures in his back, and he's playing with that.
What? Well, then definitely don't start him.
Yeah. Back on Tampa Bay on that one for sure. Yeah, just said breaking news. Jameis playing with 4 fractures in his back.
Well, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Don't love that.
Who do they have behind him now?
Is Taysom Hill technically, even though he's a tight end?
Yeah, maybe so. I guess you're right. Yikes.
I'm pulling up the Saints depth chart just because I'm curious myself.
Because wasn't that where Simeon was before?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, while that loads, we will answer this question. Hayden Hurst or Cole Kmet? I think Cole Kmet's going to see a lot of targets today. I do like Hurst. I just don't love him this week. So I think Kmet by a hair. Adam?
Yeah, I'm playing Kmet over this one, over Hurst here, but I do like Hurst as a sleeper tight end this year. If you waited real late and didn't get Kmet or somebody, Kmet was fairly late as well, but if you missed on him, Hurst was the next best option in my opinion. But I'm taking Kmet today after, like I said, the dud week 1. I think Kmet comes back today.
I agree. And by the way, the backup quarterback for the New Orleans Saints is Andy Dalton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They got the Bears swapped him and Simeon. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And speaking of Bears,
that's not as bad for them, I don't think, if
Jameis goes down.
Yeah. Jameis goes down. Yeah, that's not as bad for Michael Thomas and Kamara.
Yeah, and speaking of Bears players, we had a question about Hunter Renfrow or Darnell Mooney. It's close, but I want to lean towards Renfrow, even though he screwed me last week. I do like that matchup against Arizona today. They didn't look good at all last week in their secondary, so I lean slightly towards Renfrow. Adam, what do you think?
Man, I really want to say Mooney, but I think the safer play would be Renfrow. Yeah, I think that's a good – we mentioned how good of a matchup it is versus Arizona secondary, and there's no way Devontae Adams can get 17 targets every game, so they got to get some of those back to Renfrow. I think he's a safer play for if it's PPR for sure.
Agreed. And we had questions. Gage is replacing Julio and Godwin. Technically, yes, he is. I also look to see Scotty Miller a little bit more involved today, but I'm not starting Scotty Miller. I would start Russell Gage. So
watch for that Cameron Brate touchdown to pop in there late.
Yeah, especially with Kyle Rudolph inactive. So
Cameron Brate always pops up.
Mm-hmm. Adam, I'll let you take this one. Connor wants to know Dotson, Ayuk, Montgomery, or Wilson. Pick 2.
Wilson, Montgomery. I think I'd take the running backs here. Jahan Dotson looked good as a rookie. Had 2 touchdowns, but I believe it was only on 4 or 5 targets total. Ayuk, I love Brandon Ayuk's talent, but we've talked about Trey Lance is going to have to prove something before I'm playing receivers there outside of Debo.
Yeah.
So
I'm in full agreement. I think Montgomery and Wilson for sure. Travis says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Travis? How you doing, buddy?" I know we're starting to wrap here. We are taking our final rapid fire questions. We got about 3-4 minutes left of the show, and then we're going to get out of here so you guys can get ready for kickoff. 007ish wants to know Gage, Ayuk, or Cooper flex. I take a flyer on Gage. I think he's going to see a lot of balls today.
Yeah, Russell Gage for me. If we're talking about, I assume that's Amari Cooper, and I'm not. Amari Cooper's not getting in my lineup until probably Deshaun Watson's in there.
Yeah, no doubt. And then we have one more question here from Sam J. Amari Cooper or Sterling Shepard PPR?
Shepard.
Yeah, it's. You would think it would be Amari, but I just don't. I don't love it. I think Shepard's going to see a lot of targets again, and he looks like he's healthy. So I'd lean towards Shepard as well. And we got 2 more, and then we're going to call it. Connor, is it worth picking up Curtis Samuel over Dotson? Yes, he was very well. I don't know over Dotson, but he was very involved last week, and I do think he's worth a pickup. But I don't think he's worth a drop of Dotson. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would. It's pretty tough. I may do that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I don't know what the rest of your roster looks like, but Curtis Samuel, if he's healthy, he has played really well the last year and a half or so. When he was healthy for the Panthers, he was basically being junior Debo Samuel. I mean, he was running out of the backfield. He was catching the short passes. You know, he's pretty dynamic. So he's worth picking up. I don't know if I do it over Dotson. I'd try to see what else you got on the bench as well. But if I had to, I think I would take Samuel over him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be involved as long as he's healthy. So I agree. Football Fan 28 for flex, start one of these: Pittman, Kamara, Godwin, Jefferson, Dontrell Hilliard, or Gallup. But seriously, who do I drop? I also have Mitchell and Dak. Great luck this year. Football Fan, at this point, I think I agree with you. I'd probably actually, I lied. Drop Van Jefferson.
Yeah,
I would drop Van Jefferson. See if you could pick up Doolin from the Colts today. He's going to be their number 2 wide receiver, or even Paris Campbell if he's available. I think that would help you a lot today because you seem to have some really rough luck, and I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's terrible, man. I would definitely Van Jefferson would be my first drop, and then Hilliard would be second choice. But I'd drop Jefferson and pick up anybody that's going to be starting today, really.
Mm-hmm. And then we have one final question. This is where we're going to cut it from our buddy Travis, if it wants to pop up on the screen. With T. Higgins questionable, would you play Gage in the flex, Michael Carter, or Lockett? Well, it looks like T. Higgins is going to be going. At least it sounds like that's what the case is. I'm looking at the
T.
inactive
Higgins
list.
would be my top choice, followed by Michael Carter.
Yeah, I would say give T. Higgins a start. If he's out, go with Carter. I'm in full agreement. I'm not loving Lockett just yet.
No.
And I think he'll probably get traded this year, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. But Adam, we had a hell of a show. We broke some breaking news about some big names that aren't going to be playing today. But just reminding everybody out there, if you guys have additional questions while we're off the air or any other time, you can hit us up at FFB Goon on Twitter. I'm at Joe Mandel. He's at Papa Bear 816. Put us all together in one comment on Twitter, and we'll answer your question. Same thing. We have a Facebook for Fantasy Football Goon. You can put your questions there as well. And then, of course, every Sunday before kickoff, you can find us here as well. Adam, I know you've got to get going. But, again, thank you for doing this every morning with me. I'm looking forward to some Bears-Packers tonight and some great football all day long. Just an awesome show, man. And what are you looking forward to today?
Man, I'm looking forward to tonight, obviously. The Bears-Packers game, I can't wait to sit down tonight and get ready to watch that. Hope the Bears can pull an upset and, silence the critics finally. I'm done with this Aaron Rodgers routine. We need to move past this. Fields needs to take over the North, and let's just do it from here tonight on. So that's what I'm most excited for, but I'm ready for all these games to get started at noon. And Gaines was fun this morning. Great trade, buddy. DJ, I'm coming for you in fantasy baseball today. It's down to the wire. It's an exciting day, Joe, all around.
It is an exciting day all around. Adam, thanks for doing this with me every Sunday. I appreciate it. And a huge shout out to everyone in the chat room on all kinds of great questions today. And go win some matchups. God bless America. God bless football. Let's go kick some ass. And we'll see you guys talking about week 3 a week from today. Go win some games. Good luck, everybody.